plan was simple enough. Alex and Sam would tell their parents they were spending the night at my place, where my parents, late workers, were preoccupied with their jobs so they could spoil me. This excuse would buy us some extra time for the final step of our plan. After convincing our parents, we'd head out for trick-or-treating, but our real destination was the infamous haunted mansion at the dead end of our street. The house had once belonged to a wealthy family, rumored to have been involved in illegal activity, but the truth died with them when they were found dead in a supposed murder-suicide. Sitting in my room, Alex and I watched Sam slouched over at my desk, phone pressed to her ear, clearly getting an earful. One of her hands were propped up on the desk, holding her head, while the other gripped her phone in frustration. I nudged Alex and said, "Yeah, it's over. Look at her. She looks like she's struggling to push out a big." "Chill, bruh." Alex cut me off, a nervous laugh slipping out. "I really hope this plan works. We need this to go through." Sam finally slammed her phone down onto the desk, her expression a mix of exhaustion and irritation. "They always questioning everything I do. I might as well call them officer instead of mom and dad," she muttered, rubbing her temples. "The way they interrogate me feels like they don't even trust me." "Damn," I said, and Alex gave a knowing nod, but Sam's face suddenly broke into a grin. "But they said yes." We all burst into laughter, relief and excitement sweeping over us. We grabbed our trick-or-treat bags and threw on our costumes. Sam was dressed as a witch, Alex as a zombie, and I was a vampire. With our spirits high, we bolted out of the house into the horde of early trick-or-treaters. The cool October air bit at my skin as we weaved through the crowd of trick-or-treaters. The sky was already dark, and the streets glowed with the orange flicker of jack-o'-lanterns lining the doorsteps. Kids ran around in all sorts of costumes, superheroes, ghosts, and princesses, screaming with excitement as parents followed with their flashlights and candy bags. The sound of laughter and crunching leaves filled the air as we made our way to the edge of town, where the festive atmosphere started to fade. The houses became fewer, the streetlights dimmer, until finally we stood in front of the mansion. It loomed at the dead end of the road, almost swallowed by the thick, gnarled trees that surrounded it. The towering structure looked like it hadn't been touched in years. The wood was rotting, windows broken, and a rusty iron gate stood in front, barely holding up. Above the door, a single bat darted out into the night, disappearing into the shadows. Alex took a deep breath and grabbed the gate, which screeched as he pushed it open. "Well, this is it," he muttered, his voice barely above a whisper. Sam, already on edge, flinched. "Did you hear that?" she whispered, her voice shaking. I could see her eyes scanning the dark bushes nearby, trying to find the source of the faint rustling noise as we all heard. "What the hell is that?" Alex asked, his face serious now as he tried to peer through the darkness. I kept my voice steady, though my heart pounded. "It's probably just the wind, or animals, or something." But as we stood there, the sound got louder, a faint whispering, like someone murmuring just out of sight, followed by slow, deliberate footsteps. The three of us huddled together, our eyes darted around, trying to locate the source of the noise. Suddenly, two figures burst out from behind the bushes with a loud "boo!" The three of us screamed as the figures, wearing monster masks, laughed hysterically. "Gotcha!" one of them shouted, high-fiving his friend. Sam was clutching her chest, her face red. "Are you kidding me?" Alex let out a shaky laugh. "Chill, bruh. You nearly gave me a heart attack." The two teens in masks kept laughing. "We've been scaring people all night. You should have seen your faces." They took off down the street, still chuckling as Sam glared at them. I rolled my eyes but couldn't help but smile. Great. Jump scared before we even make it inside. As the teens disappeared down the street, the rustling sound returned, this time from the far end of the yard. Three shadowy figures stood near the side of the house, still and silent, barely visible in the dim light. They were wearing outfits that looked so real. One had a suit with tattered sleeves and a cracked, pale mask that resembled a gaunt, hollow-eyed face. Another wore a black gown, its flowing material almost shimmering in the faint moonlight, with a veil obscuring their face. The third had on what looked like an old-fashioned tuxedo, complete with a top hat and a grin that seemed etched in the mask like it had been part of them all along. My blood ran cold. I blinked trying to focus, but when I looked again, they were gone. "Did you guys see that?" I whispered. "See what?" Sam asked, her voice still shaky. I swallowed hard. "Never mind. Let's just go inside." Stepping inside, the air felt heavier, like we had just crossed into another world. The smell of damp wood and mildew hit us immediately, and every footstep echoed loudly through the hollow halls. Dust hung thick in the air, and the walls were lined with faded wallpaper, peeling and curling at the edges. Cobwebs stretched across the corners, and a cracked chandelier hung above us, swaying slightly as if moved by a breath of wind. The place felt abandoned, yet it seemed like it was still watching us somehow, like it had a memory of all lives that had passed through it. I shined my flashlight over the floor. Every creak in the wooden planks beneath us sent chills down my spine. Sam clutched her bag tighter, glancing around with wide eyes. Alex was just ahead of us, taking in the surroundings with a small grin. "Well, we made it," Alex said, his voice echoing off the walls. "If the ghosts don't get us, this place is definitely gonna collapse on us." I tried to lighten the mood. "Yeah, or we'll get hunted by the world's worst allergies." I kicked a pile of dust on the floor, sending it swirling into the air. Sam managed a nervous chuckle but didn't let her guard down. Her eyes darted toward the darkened corners of the room, her voice shaky. "This place is ancient. You think there's any furniture that's not gonna turn into dust if we sit on it?" Alex gave Sam a playful shove, his grin widening. "Man, if you're scared now, just wait till we pick our rooms." I raised an eyebrow, intrigued but still on edge. "I'm in. No ticketing out." "Sam?" She hesitated, but eventually nodded. "Fine, but we're keeping in touch. Video calls only." We made our way through the house, exploring room after room. The deeper we went, the darker it got. The walls seemed to close in on us, and every corner seemed like it was hiding something, waiting for us to get too close. The shadows danced as our flashlights moved, playing tricks on our minds, but we kept moving forward. We wandered deeper into the mansion, the place creaking under our feet like it was barely holding itself together. After passing a long, narrow hallway lined with dusty portraits and crooked paintings, we found ourselves in what must have been the living room. The space was larger than the rest of the house we'd seen so far, with a massive fireplace that looked like it hadn't been lit in decades. Old furniture, covered in dust and cobwebs, was scattered around a rotting couch in the corner, and a coffee table leaning to one side like it might collapse any second. Alex popped down on the couch, causing it to creak ominously under his weight. "Think this is gonna hold me up?" I grinned, sitting on the armrest of an old chair nearby. "If not, we'll finally get our ghost story." Teen crushed by haunted couch. Sam stood by the fireplace, nervously glancing at the cracked mirror above it. "Honestly, those kids scaring us might be the highlight of the night. This place, it's more sad than scary." Alex laughed. "Yeah, I was expecting some spirits, but all we're getting is tetanus." I could tell Sam was still uneasy though. She was fidgeting with the strap of her trick-or-treat bag, her eyes darting between the darkened doorways. Alex stood up and clapped his hands together. "Well, I've got an idea. Let's each take a room, see who's brave enough to spend the night alone. No running out till morning." Sam's eyes widened. "Are you serious? This place barely feels stable, let alone safe." I chimed in, trying to sound braver than I felt. "Come on, Sam. Where's your sense of adventure? Besides, it'll make a great story if we survive." Sam hesitated, chewing on her lip, but finally gave in. "Fine, but if something jumps out at me, I'm out, video call or not." With that, we split up, exploring the upper floors. Alex took the room closest to the attic, a place where an eerie painting of some old guy with hollow eyes staring out at nothing. Sam chose the room on the ground floor, the one with the creepy old fireplace and broken mirror. I ended up in a small room upstairs, near the back of the house. The wallpaper was peeling and the bed looked like it hadn't been touched in years. A single window let in some moonlight, casting long shadows across the floor. We each settled in our rooms, phones out as we started the video call. Alright, I'm in my room. Bed doesn't look too bad, I guess, I said, adjusting my flashlight to point at the mattress, half expecting it to collapse under its own weight. Yeah, mine's okay, I guess, Alex added, though the shadow of the painting on the wall behind him gave his room a way creepier vibe. He noticed me staring. Oh, and this guy, yeah, if he starts moving, I'm gone. Sam sighed. My room's got a freaking broken mirror and a fireplace that looks like it belongs in a horror movie. I'm staying right by the door. I chuckled, trying to keep the mood light. At least we got our phones. Honestly, I think the kids scaring us earlier might be the most excitement we get tonight. Yeah, Alex replied, leaning back against the wall. Who knew the scariest thing so far would be a couple of kids in monster masks? Might be the highlight of the night. Sam laughed nervously. Well, let's hope it stays that way. If anything starts moving in here, I'm out. Alright, well, good luck to us all, I said, getting comfortable on the bed. Let's see who's brave enough to make it through the night. The three of us kept the video call going as we settled in, chatting quietly, trying to ignore the creaks and groans of the old mansion around us. It felt like the house itself was watching, waiting for us to let our guard down. We joked around for a while, but soon enough, exhaustion set in. Slowly, one by one, we all started to drift off to sleep. But then, just as I was about to close my eyes, the screen on my phone flickered. The video feed turned to static, the connection cutting out. Tried calling them back, but all I got was a crackle of interference. No signal, no voices. As soon as the phone screen cut off again, I lowered it, staring at the blank display in disbelief. My heart pounded as I looked around the room, trying to shake off the unease. But then I noticed something that wasn't there before. On the walls, ceilings, and even the floor, words. Dozens of them, scrawled everywhere in a messy, jagged script. The words looked like they were written in blood, or at least something red enough to make me wonder. Get out, run, not alone. Panic surged through me as I scrambled to the door. My hands gripped the knob, yanking with all my strength. It didn't budge, locked, or jammed, or worse, sealed shut. My mind raced. Maybe this was a prank, a twisted game Alex or Sam was pulling. But before I could think it through, a loud burst of static blasted from my phone. I jumped, eyes darting back to the screen just in time to hear something. A scream, a sharp, static-filled scream. It was Sam's voice, and Alex too. Both screaming, but distorted and cut off, the sound warping like something was wrong with the connection. My phone flickered once more before the screen went dead again, this time for good. There was no way this was a joke. Fear crept up my spine. I took a deep breath, trying to calm myself when I noticed something else. The words on the wall weren't the only thing that changed. There were photos, pictures that hadn't been there before, lined up perfectly, almost like a family portrait display. The first set of photos showed a family, a mother, father, and two children, their faces frozen in a moment of happiness, like nothing could go wrong in their world. But then, next to them, were three other photos. They didn't belong. These faces were unfamiliar, a little younger than the family, and the way their eyes stared through the frame made my skin crawl. Each photo had a name scribbled underneath it in red ink. One name stood out to me, Chris Fielder. It was written with more care, not rushed like the others. For some reason, that name stuck with me, but I didn't have time to think about it in the moment. I just felt a growing unease. Panic gripped me again as I saw an arrow, crudely drawn on the wall, pointing toward the window. The words next to it were clearer than the rest. This way. I hesitated, but then I realized I had no choice. I crossed the room, the floorboards creaking under my feet, and cautiously approached the window. I peered down the roof and immediately saw it, a corpse, lying twisted on the ground below. The figure was pale, unmoving, like something straight out of a nightmare. I backed away from the window, feeling my stomach churn. But then I saw another arrow, this time pointing toward a door that led deeper into the mansion. Against every instinct screaming at me to leave, I followed it. I walked down a narrow hallway until I reached the door at the end. As I opened it, the smell of dampness and rot hit me like a wall. Inside, the lights were flickering wildly, casting erratic shadows across the room. In the center of it, there was some sort of chamber. No, more like a prison. Bars, old and rusted, stood crooked in the middle of the room. The whole thing looked like it hadn't been used in decades, but it felt like something terrible had happened here recently. I stepped closer and suddenly a flicker caught my eye. A shadowy figure flashed in and out of sight for a split second, vanishing before I could even register what it was. Then, as if it could get any worse, I noticed something else. Words were being written on the wall right in front of me, appearing as if by an invisible hand. Not safe. Leave now. Another arrow appeared, this one pointing toward an exit at the far end of the room. That was it. I was done. I bolted for the door, tearing through the house as fast as my legs could carry me. Bursting out into the night, I ran until I found Alex and Sam, both of them panting and wide-eyed, waiting for me in the front of the mansion. Without a word, the three of us sprinted away, racing through the now dwindling crowd of trick-or-treaters and Halloween decorations that blurred around us. The streets seemed quieter, more sinister, as we ran all the way back to my house, adrenaline pumping through our veins. Once inside, we collapsed onto the floor of the living room, breathless, the silence between us heavy and tense. For a moment, none of us spoke. We just stared at each other, processing whatever the hell had just happened. Finally, Alex broke the silence, shaking his head. That wasn't the house messing with us, right? I swear, I saw something in there. Something real. Sam nodded, still catching her breath, her voice shaky but firm. Same. The door wouldn't open for me, and I heard voices. Not just ours. It was like something was there, watching us. I swallowed hard, then said, I saw arrows too. They were on the walls, leading me around. Alex interrupted, like towards a prison or something. I blinked. Yeah, there was a prison. Bars in the middle of the room. Sam's eyes widened. The arrows pointed to the door, right? Like they wanted you to, we all said at once, find a secret room that looked like a prison. Our voices echoed in the silence, the realization settling in that we all had gone through the same thing. I saw a body, I finally said, lying on the ground, and there was pictures of a family and three others who weren't part of it. I glanced at my phone, opening the search bar out of sheer curiosity. I typed the name in and waited, the screen loading as we sat in silence. Finally, the results popped up, my stomach sinking as I read it out loud. Chris Fielder, reported missing. Cold case. Disappeared when he was 19, never found. We exchanged looks, the weight of it all settled in like a boulder on our shoulders. It wasn't just a creepy house anymore. Something had been there, something darker than any of us were ready to understand.